is going sideways. Okay, once again, welcome to those people that are online. Just started the recording now. There is a guide on Eve that explains how to get Visual Studios on your personal machine. We're just going to go through that in a more practical way. So it's just as simple as going onto your browser and saying Visual Studio. Enter literally the first link you see there. You can click on that. So we've been getting a few questions of students saying, if my computer can't handle Visual Studios 2020, can I get a lower version of Visual Studios? No, we would not recommend you to do that because the assistants that are going to be marking your practicals on a weekly basis are using Visual Studios 2020. And if you know anything about software compatibility, you know that they usually don't like playing well together. So you're going to have an instance where something is working on your computer, but it's not working in the lab computers. And it might not have anything to do with your code. It might just be that the versions that are being used are different versions and it won't execute. And if it doesn't execute, we can't mark it. If we can't mark it, you don't get the marks. So in order to avoid certain things like that, install the same instance that is in the lab computers, which is Visual Studios 2022. There's nothing really special about Visual Studios 2022. Is that it's the easier one to find. So Visual Studios 2019, 2012, and all of those are a bit harder to find. This is Microsoft have made it that way. They've literally deleted any reference to those versions of Visual Studios. So how do you get Visual Studios? There is Visual Studios, and then you have Visual Studios for Mac. Any Mac users in the venue? Any Mac users at home? Okay, doesn't look like it. That's great. But just for information purposes, Visual Studios on Mac does not work that great. It is a preview version and it does not run Windows application software. So you cannot run Visual Studios on your Mac, on a Mac computer. Well, you can. You would have to put a Windows operating system in some sort of sandbox or a dual boot. Otherwise, there's no way around it. And there is a third option, which is Visual Studio Code. So the difference between Visual Studios and Visual Studio Code is Visual Studio Code is basically like Notepad. It doesn't have a compiler. All it does is it's fancy in a way that it can highlight certain things. Like today, you guys learned about keywords, right? Protected words like private, dim, yes, no, maybe. Were you in class this morning? Yeah. So when you start coding, you see if you write private in Visual Studios, it will highlight that in blue to show that it is a reserved word, right? Notepad++ does the same thing. It will identify reserved words. It will change. It will do indentations and stuff for you, but you won't be able to you won't be able to execute your program. You won't be able to build your program. So of these three, the one that you want is the first one, Visual Studios. And if you click on Visual Studios, there is Visual Studios Community, Professional, and Enterprise. We don't really, again, the bigger you go, or the higher in the tiers you go, the bigger your installer is going to get. But also, Professional and Enterprise are not free. So you're going to have to pay for Professional and Enterprise. And in actual fact, there's nothing on either one of them that you guys are going to need for the purposes of Informatics 1 or any other varsity-related module. So there's no reason to go for the other ones. The one you want is Visual Studios Community 2022. Once you click that, it should say thank you and download a setup file. The setup file is very small. So what you're actually downloading is not Visual Studios itself. You are downloading the installer. How many of you are gamers here? PC gamers, right? It's the same thing. So remember when you thought that was the game and then you clicked on it and it says install game, you figured this is not the game. This is the same thing here. This is not Visual Studios, it's the installer. So if you double click on the installer, well, mine, because I already have an installer running, so basically what it's doing now is it says, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your hard drive? I can't show that on screen now. If you say yes, this is what will pop up. This is what the installer looks like. So before you get started, we need to set up a few things to configure your installation, learn more. You don't need to worry about these, just go continue. If you say continue, it's going to download another version of their installer and it will install that installer. Mine's already there, but I think there is an update already because it's taking a while. So yes, Visual Studios, the actual install of Visual Studios is like the size that you guys need is about 3.5 gigs. So unless you have super fast fiber at home and uncapped, we would recommend that you download it on campus because you do have free Wi-Fi here. But if you have Wi-Fi at home, then by all means you can. The one that I have installed on my computer is 17 gigs. You don't need all of that. So yes, there was an update. This is what, it's not moving. So this is what you're installing. If essentially this is the installer. So as you can see, it says there is an update available. I'll update it later. So for now, I'll just close. This is what you're going to see after you open up that installer, right? And no, actually, this is what you'll see after the installer opens because mine's already installed. It is basically going to tell you these are all of the things that you can add to your version of Visual Studios. Again, if we go back to the gaming thing, there is certain packages that come with the game, right? It's not just one install. There is, here's the main game, here's the online one, here are the character packs. Choose, so basically you choose what part of that whole game you want. Same thing applies here. The only thing you should care about is a workload called, scrolling too fast, .NET Web Development. That's the only one you click on. For some reason, the screen is not big enough to accommodate the whole thing. That's the only one you click on. Let's see how big it is. It is 300, kill me. Come on, installer. It is 329 megabytes. That's not right. It's mostly like 3 gigs overall. Let me move it over. It's 3 gigs overall. But again, as I said, the only one you need is, move. Now it doesn't want to move. The only one you need is .NET Development Tools. Click on that. And after clicking on that, you should be able to just say, obviously mine says space required 0 bytes. Anyone care to tell me why mine says 0 bytes? Yeah, I have it already. So yours should be around the ballpark of like 3.2 or 3.6 gigs. Okay, then you can go install and download. And that's where you get Visual Studios, and that's how to install Visual Studios. Are there any questions with what we've been through so far? So at this point, we all know, yeah, that. .NET, it's just, yeah, I forgot. Let me just open it again so everyone can see. It's the .NET one. So development tools with, let's move it to your screen again. It's this purple one here, .NET Desktop Development. Okay, there's another hand on this side, I think, if I'm not mistaken. No, okay, so now we know where to find Visual Studios and what part of Visual Studios to install, correct? Okay, so let's move on. After you are done installing it, a bunch of stuff is going to be added to your desktop. And okay, can I get confirmation from the online people that you're still following along? Because no one is saying anything.
Yes, we
and
are.
I can't hear you guys. So just type yes, we can hear you. Okay, cool, still on the same page. So let me just change my viewing thing to duplicate. I knew that was gonna happen. That was a bad idea. I apologize for that. Close this, close that, close that, close that. Okay, cool. Now we can duplicate. So the issue is if you go Visual Studios, once you download Visual Studios, there's going to be stuff added to your menu like that. As you can see, there is Blend for Visual Studios 2022. Don't touch that. It's nothing to do with what you have to do. It's a sub-component of Visual Studios that comes with Visual Studios, but we don't deal with that. The reason why I'm emphasizing this is you are going to have a practical exam, right? You're going to have a practical semester test before then. In this practical exam and semester test, I am not allowed to assist you with anything. But between now and 14 weeks later, we are going to be helping you guys with your weekly practicals. We've had instances where on that day of the semester test, someone opens Visual Studios for Blend and it doesn't look like what Visual Studio is supposed to look like. And that person starts getting a panic attack and says, sir, help me. Basically, I'll come to your computer and I'll go, I don't know what you did. Well, I do know, but I'm not allowed to tell you what you did wrong. So don't open Blend for any reason. Just so it's over there and it's over here at the bottom as well. So the easiest thing would be to just search Visual Studios and just open Visual Studios 2022. Okay. Let's go back to extending. So once you open Visual Studios 2022, you'll be greeted with this page that basically asks you, what do you want to do in Visual Studios? And what are we trying to do? We're trying to create a Windows Form application. You can clone a repository. I don't think most of you have repositories, though, so don't worry about that. You can open a solution. So if you are done with a previous week's practical and you just want to open it, you can open it with this second one, open local folders. But the one that you should care more about is create a new project. So create a new project. And again, these options are there because my Visual Studios is bigger than yours. So simply put, if you want to minimize the options that you're going to get on that, over here at languages, you will say you're looking for Visual Basic. Visual Basic is the language we're going to be using in Informatics 1A and Informatics 1B. What type of development are we looking at? Not all platforms, Windows platforms. And where are we going to be deploying this, or for what type of project is this? It's a desktop type of project. And then you will streamline the number of options you have over there. And this is one of the other things that students have done in the past, where they've opened the right thing, Visual Studios, but created the wrong solution file, and it's not going to go well. So the one that you're looking for is, you can basically search for it or scroll down, but it is a Windows Form app, Windows Forms application. So it's the one with the little brackets, and it has .NET framework inside of it, relating to the .NET development tools you downloaded earlier. That workload is what's going to allow you to get Windows Form app. So if you're searching and you do not find Windows Form app, you have downloaded the wrong workload for Visual Studios. Go back to your installer and click on the right workload. Okay. So you'll click on that and then click on next. And your project name. So each and every practical you get, each and every exam you get will have a naming convention, where we tell you it's maybe for Friday, it will be something like P00 underscore your initials underscore surname. Please do not name your project anything else, because we gave you that convention for a reason. So if you upload it incorrectly or upload it under the wrong name, we reserve the right not to mark it. Okay, if we can't find it, we can't mark it. And if it's named incorrectly, chances of it getting lost are very high. So please, on the document itself, it will tell you, please name your project as P whatever underscore your initials underscore your name. Whatever naming convention it is, please follow that naming convention. It's going to be one of the first things on the question paper or the practical question paper. So with this, this is my second tutorial, so I'm just going to call it tut_2. Okay, location. Location is very important. Location is important because firstly, when you're done, you need to save this, upload it to Eve. Will you be able to upload it to Eve if you don't know where you saved it? No, so you need to know exactly where you saved it. If you're working on the lab computers, which you are eventually going to for your test and exam, the computers have the memory of a goldfish. So basically, if you are typing, and then ESCOM decides it's time for them to load shed our area and we lose power, when you switch everything back on, regardless of whether you've been saving or not, everything is gone. It's like a brand new computer. Okay, how do we solve that? There is a space in the lab computers that is called the T drive, Thor space. So if you go to, usually there's D drive, Z drive, there should be a T drive, Thor space. Thor space is the only part of the hard drive that is exempt from that restart. So if you're working in the lab computers, where are you saving your work? T drive. Okay, so when you're done, you've uploaded, you're happy with everything, what do you then do? You just stand up and leave the lab. No, what do? You're done. You've zipped it up, you've uploaded it to Eve, what do you do? Yes, ma'am. You've submitted to Eve already. Yeah. Why? It's on Eve. Yeah, you can do that. But it's on Eve. Already Eve, if it's uploaded on Eve, then you don't need to keep backups. But if you are that paranoid, you can definitely keep redundancies. It's not an issue. What else do? You log out of what? The machine. Log out of Eve. Okay, good. Please log out of Eve, because there's some people that just leave it open there. And if I find it open, I'm going to do dodgy things to your Eve account. So please always log out. But that's not it. That's one of the safety issues, but that's not it. What else do you want to do? Delete. Delete it off of the T drive, because even if the machine restarts, it's still going to be there. And then chances are you're not the only one that has this assignment. There's like 350 of you guys. There's a good chance one of your fellow students is going to sit on that same computer and try to do the exact same assignment, right? So what happens when I go sit there and I go, new project, and then Visual Studio says, hey, there's already a project on this computer. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I open it and it works. What would you do in that situation? It's a blessing in disguise, right? You're just gonna take it and upload it. Okay, this is what then happens. When we do the copy checker just before your marking, it's going to flag that there's two identical copies. At that point, we don't care who did what. Both of you get 0. It's plagiarism, both of you get 0. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you secure your own work. So if you're working in the lab computers, save it in the T drive while you're working on it to avoid losing your work if a shutdown does happen. But once you are done and you are happy with what you have, you've uploaded it or you've moved it to USB or whatever the case may be, please delete it off of the T drive. Because there are going to be some people who will find it there, change a few things and upload it. And you don't want 0 just because someone else found your work on the lab computers. So I'll put mine on the desktop, it's fine. With this doesn't look right. Okay, .NET Framework 4. Let's create it. So sometimes depending on the install, because mine had an update, I don't know what's happening right now. It should say Framework 6.0. But the frameworks, you can use whatever framework it gives you. If you do run into an issue, take a screenshot, send it to us on Discord or one of the other channels. We'll try and solve it for you. We had a similar issue last year. The problem is neither me nor Proflin could replicate the error. So we could not fix it without knowing how to create it. Luckily, one of our assistants had an issue, similar issue, and then he brought it to us and we were able to change it or fix it. Again, this reminds me, none of us can handle your personal computer, okay? For obvious reasons. Because if I break it, I'm not going to be responsible for it. I can hardly afford my own. But also, we are not tech support. We don't work for Microsoft. So questions like, my Windows 11 is slowing down my computer. Boo-hoo, I didn't install it, you did. Okay, my Visual Studios is not working. Okay, I can advise you on what to do, but I can't physically control your computer or change something in case it does get broken. The same thing with the location. I think last year or 2 years ago, we had a student who did that on their computer and they saved it in the repos and they couldn't find it. So Prof. Lung and I, trying to be the good people we are, tried to look into this individual's computer to try and find their solution. We did not find their solution. We found some very pornographic pictures on there. So that's one of the reasons why we don't do that anymore. Just keep your own computer. And if you do run into an issue, take a screenshot and send it to us, and then we'll try and figure out what's the issue. So click on Create. And it should create your project. And it should look something like this. Is the T drive called ThorSpace? Yes, the T drive is called ThorSpace. It should look something like this. Because the projector is making my screen a bit smaller, everything is squished, but on a normal screen, it should be enough space. So over here, you will have your Solution Explorer. Your Solution Explorer will show you all of the pages, files that belong to this project. Okay, as you can see, there are a lot of files in this project. It's not just one file, it's multiple files. So when you are done coding, you don't save just one page. You save all of them and you upload the whole thing. Okay, so Visual Studios works in a drag and drop type of way where, let me just collapse that as well. What you do on your left, you have a toolbox. So if you click on the toolbox, it will open up showing you all of the wonderful things you can drag and drop onto the form that you can then code for. So we have situations where the toolbox tends to go missing. So instead of, now you can pin it down, it's pinned there, it's not gonna go anywhere. But that little pin and the X are so close to each other that you might wanna unpin it and mistakenly close it. It's gone. It's not really gone, you just minimized it. So if you go to View and scroll down, there's Toolbox over there. Or alternatively, you can use the shortcut keys, which is Control-Alt-X, and then your toolbox will come back. Some of the issues we usually run into. So yeah, typically you need a button, and maybe need a text box. Okay, so if you right click on anything, there's a properties tab. So the properties tab basically gives you all of the things you can change about that specific thing. So I right clicked on the form. So this allows me to change certain things about the form. So for instance, I can change the background color to gray, right? Things like that. I can change the font sizes. I can change the fonts themselves. I can change the size of the form. Anything you can think of that's on this tab, you can ideally change about this form. Okay, with that being said, this is not a fine arts module. We don't really care whether your stuff looks pretty, the colors are matching and all of that. It's just, does it work or doesn't it? And we've had situations where, again, your semester test 2 is 3 hours. You don't want to spend an hour and a half or 2 hours beautifying your form and not actually writing any code. So my advice is stay away from all of these background changes and stuff like that. Just keep it normal. Control, just keep it normal and change the stuff that you actually do need to change. So next week, we'll show you all of those things that you need to change. So the only things we want from you is it must be uniform. Does that look like a nice form to work with? Is that something you'd want to see on your computer when you're running certain programs? No, why not? Huh? The buttons are skewed. Yes, I have that issue as well. I'm an alignment Nazi. Everything needs to be in alignment. Okay, what else? The buttons are skewed. What else? So the rest of you think that is fine. It's okay. Besides the buttons not being aligned. What else is wrong with the form? Online people, you can participate on these. When I ask questions, please do feel free to answer them. I will read the chat. I'm not going too far away from my computer. I can see the chat. What else is wrong with this? Yeah. The buttons are not aligned, arranged. Yes, that is very important. That is sequence. So ideally, from what we know about counting, where do we usually start? At 1. So if I was running this program, you would assume that the button you need to press first would be button 1. Is button 1 the first button? No, it's not. So do you see that besides the aesthetical look of it, it is disorientated by itself. You don't know where to start, where you're going, and all of that. So those are the things that we want you to be aware of. If your buttons are in a right order, your spacing is fine, the size of your form is fine, that should be fine. We don't care about the colors and all of that. So the issue, the fact that there's so much space is a problem as well. So it's one other thing we need to fix. Okay, are there any questions with what we've covered so far? Yeah. Yeah. What's a framework? So a framework would be, the simpler way of putting it would be, it is what is built on, what architecture your solution is going to be built on. Yeah. So it's like versions of, are you a Android user? Okay, so when you download an Android app, I'm not too sure about Apple apps if it's the same, but when you download an Android app, it usually, if you go down to read the documentation, it will tell you this app works from Android 6.7 KitKat all the way up. Okay, those type of operating systems are different in their architecture. Their framework is different. How they communicate with each other is different. So that's why I'm saying an app that works on one might not work on another. And if it does work on both of them, it might have some compatibility issues because the way these two frameworks communicate are different. Yeah, that's basically it. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah. So a solution is, this is a solution. This is a answer, so to speak. So we're going to give you a problem that you need to solve. This will be the solution. So besides that being the solution, if I go Windows E, bring this over here and go desktop, tutorial 2 is on my desktop. That's what we created, right? So in order to start it, you're aware, you know execution files. So when you download a game, there's usually a lot of files there, but there's one that's written .exe. That's the one you click in order to get the game running, right? That's the main file. Same thing. So with Visual Studios, the file that you want to click on that will make the whole thing run is a .sln file. So that SLN stands for solution. It's your solution file. It's your gateway to the entire project. Yeah. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? No. Okay, cool. Let's carry on. No. So at this point, do we know what my program does? No. Right? Even if I ran it, it wouldn't do anything. What would you like this program to do? This is like one of the only times I'm ever going to ask you what you want to do. So you need to take advantage of this. What do you want this application to do? You guys just don't care that much. Let's make it a calculator. Okay, let's go form 1. So again, with those properties we spoke about, if I go to properties, we do have, if I scroll down, there's only ever 2 properties you need to worry about, but we'll get to that on a later stage. This is one of those, please stay tuned on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z type of thing. So the name, instead of form 1, I could say calculator. I played myself. So this should be, I changed the wrong one. No, instead of name, shows how long ago I've done this. Instead of name, we look for text. I'll explain it now. Text. So instead of form 1, I can say calculator, and then now the top of the file says calculator. Kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. So there are two properties you actually need to worry about, and those two properties are the name property and the text property. Okay, so the text property is what people see. That's what you can put on there to kind of describe what this does. So at the moment, it says calculator. I've got an idea. It calculates something. The buttons are still button 1, button 2, button 3. We don't know what those do. We can change those as well. Let me change one of them to just right click again, properties, and we can say this is add. So now it's kind of taking shape. That one adds, it's a whole calculator thing, but there is a name and a text property. Anyone care to give a jab at why there's a distinction between those two? Yeah.
So I'm guessing that the text property will be displayed to the user, and the naming property will only be used for person coding.
Correct. So the difference between the two properties is the name is what the text is what everyone's going to see. And you can actually have multiple objects with the name with the same text property. But the name is what you refer to it in the back end when you're coding. So as we're talking about coding, there's two parts to every Visual Basic application. There's the design. This is the form. This is what the user is going to be looking at. But if I double click on the form itself, you'll see it creates a second page. Can you see that? So we've got the first one is form1.vb. That is where the logic is going to go in. That is like the, if we have to look at it from a restaurant type of thing, that's where the kitchen is. That's where all the cooking happens. But if we look at form1.design, this is what the people see, right? So I'm guessing you've all been to some sort of restaurant before. KFC, McDonald's, whatever the case may be. When you're sitting there, can you see what's happening with your food? No, it's I want a burger, and 15, 20 minutes later, here comes a burger, right? Do you have any idea what's happening at the back? If it's actually meat that you are eating? No, you have no idea, right? So this is the same idea. When you press, even on your calculators, on your phones, on your laptops, whatever, when you press add, all you know is I want that number and that number to be added together. What's actually happening in the back end, you have no idea. Same applies. So let's try and run it. So if you run it by pressing that little green play button there. It will, basically what it's doing right now is, remember in the beginning I said there's a difference between VS Code and Visual Studios. So in VS Code, I would not be able to run it because there's no compiler. So basically what it did is it compiled all of my stuff and said I can work with this, and created a compiled running version. So this is the compiled running version. The calculator, I can press add, button 3. Why are my buttons doing nothing? I can admit button 1 is doing nothing because it's called button 1. There's not much. We don't know what it does. But add, on the other hand, should be adding stuff, right? Why is it not adding stuff? I'm pressing on it. I'm trying to press on it. Maybe if I press on it harder. No. Yeah. I haven't written any code for it. Okay. If I told you to add two numbers together, do I have to write code for you? You'll be able to add those two numbers together. Okay. Why is this any different? Yes. Yeah, you can go ahead. Computer doesn't speak English. And Visual Basic Code. Okay. So if I try, let's try this. So in order to stop it, you press the little green, red stop button. So properties. Here we go. That's better, right? Why not? Yes. You're still using English and not a coding language. Okay. Yes. I didn't add any implementation code. So the exercise I'm trying to show you is these are the things that students do. For real, not even making this up. Where they go, I'm telling it to add and it's not adding. It's like, that's not how it works though. That's not really how it works. So this is just the presentation, as you guys have mentioned. This is what the person sees. We have not added any logic to that presentation. And again, going back to the part where people spend so much time making the presentation look so great, they forget to write code. And you have this wonderful thing here that does not do anything. But anyway, for the purposes of informatics, for the purposes of this first tutorial, that's all you need to do. If you can just create, that's Prac 0 essentially. If you can just create a Visual Studio's blank file, name it correctly, and upload it to Eve, you get all your marks. Okay, so one other thing you need to do is you need to save regularly. So you've got save all and save and just save. Anyone care to tell me if there's a distinction between those two? Let's try someone else. Let's try someone else. Someone else. The gentleman with the blonde hair. It's just easy to pick on you. Distinction between save, save all and save. Yeah. I'll let you think about that. Let you think about that. Yes. Correct. So if you go back to our Solution Explorer, you can see that this project is not made out of one file. It's made of multiple files. So what you want to do is you want to save all of those files and not just save one. So right now, if I said save, it's just going to say, even if I open this and I say save, you'll see that it's just going to save form1.vb, not the rest. And chances are, if you say save one, it will save it in a different location. So now that's one of those things where you know where your main project is, but you saved one of the files in a different location, and then now nothing is running. It's going to say one or more projects in this, one or more files in this project did not load correctly. And if it says that, that means you did not save the whole thing, and then your whole project is scattered. There is a way to find it. It's very difficult. And I'm not going to come to your computer again. We've went through this to go and try and find where you've saved your stuff. Okay, so in future, to save all, save all. And once you've saved all, you can just close it. And it's saved on my desktop on this side. So let me just grab it and put it on there. So tutorial 2, there we go. So we want to upload it to Eve. What do we do when you want to upload it to Eve? You simply right click the whole thing. So we want everything inclusive. The whole thing, right click, go to send to, zip compress folder. It will create a zip file that it created on my other screen. There's the zip file. It'll create the zip file, and that's what the zip file is what you're going to upload to Eve. Notice even when you click on this, there's multiple files in here. There's a lot of files in here. You need all of those files. Once one of them is missing, your project will no longer run. Again, for those of you that pirate games, you know that once there's one file missing, it will not run. You need to find all of the files in order for it to run. Okay, so we're done. We've saved it. What do we now have to do? Upload it to Eve, right? Just give me a second. I need to find the credentials of that other student that we created. Online people, is everyone still alive? Yes, no, maybe? So one person says they're dead. So now this is when you go on to Eve. Eve. Oh, also, Eve looked kind of fugly for the last two weeks, right? We've fixed that. It was an issue with the CSS. We hadn't linked the right CSS. You can thank Mr. Tish Maganlal for fixing it. It looks prettier than it did. Did any of you notice that it was kind of ugly? No? You guys don't care for fonts? Okay, guess it's just me. So again, ladies and gentlemen, when you log into Eve, please change your password. Obviously, we're not going to change the student password because we are playing with the student. Then you go to practicals. It is just this one. We have submitted something before with the previous tutorial. So what you do is when you want to submit, go to practicals. You'll have the practical open. This submit button, we need to talk about Eve time and your phone time. Eve time is law, okay? It is the end all and be all of time. If right now that says it closes at 9 a.m., 9 a.m. Eve time, not 9 a.m. your car's time or the watch you have on your wrist or whatever, that time. So don't come to us and say, but my phone said I still have 2 more minutes. Okay. That's you and your phone's issue. We're not going to entertain that. One of the reasons why we do have a guide on Eve as well, say how to update your computer's time properly to the right time so that you don't have these issues where your computer says a different time to what time it is. And Eve does not have any feelings. It does not consider certain things. At 9 o'clock, basically what happens is the submit button disappears and it's never coming back. So if you haven't submitted at that time, it's gone. So click on submit. Now this is computer science. This is no, don't want to do computer science. Where's my practical, man? Oh, we must have gotten rid of it. I'm just gonna submit over the computer science one. Also, this is something students do. Don't do this. If you're submitting an informatics practical, for those of you that are registered for both, please submit the informatics practical in the informatics slot. Because sometimes me and the computer science lecturers don't like each other. And then you're like, please ask the computer science lecturers for my project because I submitted it in the wrong place. No, I'm not gonna do that. Those people are not my friends, right? Please upload it in the right place. And right now we're gonna fight because I'm gonna upload mine in their slot. But anyway, so you click on upload file. Once you click on upload file, it says choose file. You choose the zip folder, click on the zip folder, open. And this that says you're submitting outside of the UJ network. It's not really an error, it's just telling you you're not hardwired into UJ systems. So if you are submitting on the lab computers, you won't have that error. It's not an error, it's more like a notice. Hey, you are not actually on the network. The most important one is this blue one. It says, by continuing with this upload, you confirm that you are aware of the plagiarism policy of the University of Johannesburg. Are you aware of the plagiarism policy of the University of Johannesburg? Then you have no business uploading things on Eve. Okay, the plagiarism policy is under the general learning guide. Basically, you don't need to know too much about it. Basically, it just says, what you're basically saying here is, everything I'm about to upload is my own work and no one else's work, and I can confirm to that. But yeah, you can go read the learning guide, and it says you agree that your submission does not violate this policy. The policy says you'll upload your own work, no plagiarism. Once you click agree, it means that by clicking agree, it means that you have read the policy, you understand the policy, and you adhere to the policy. Know this thing of I did not know, because you're clicking on the thing that says, but again, we're kind of forcing you, because if you don't, you can't upload. So I agree, and then click upload. And there you go. So how do you know when it's uploaded? It's when it's there, tutorial 2, it's 51 kilobytes. What does it mean if it says uploaded, but it says 0 KB? What does that mean? It means you uploaded nothing. And then we still have students that come to us and go, I swear I uploaded this morning. And when I open it, it's like 0 kilobytes. I'm like, you uploaded what? So there's multiple reasons why this could happen. It could be network issues. It could be a myriad of things. Just double check. When you upload, it doesn't take more than 2 seconds to just check, is the file size okay? Is it the right file size? And then if you are paranoid, and this comes with if you are doing your practicals on time. Ladies and gentlemen, you have 7 days. It honestly should not take you 7 days to do these practicals. It should take you maybe 3-4 hours max, right? If you start on a Friday afternoon, you are going to run into issues, but that's how you learn. And then Monday morning, you come into the assistants lab, you ask the assistants, they assist you. By Wednesday, you're done. If you upload it, it doesn't work, you still have 3 more days to play around with it, or to come to us and say, I've tried uploading, it didn't work. On the other hand, this thing is due at 9 a.m. in the morning. If you try uploading at 8:50 and things don't go well, there's no one and nothing we can do. There's no one that can help you and nothing we can do about that. So if you do them on time, it's a bit easier for all of us. Okay, so yeah, that's basically it. Are there any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah. You don't. So the nice thing about Eve is it's very clever in a way. If you upload a file with the same name, it will override the file that was already there. Yeah. So all you need to do is just re-upload. Yeah. Simple enough. Okay. And the same thing, if you upload computer science in informatics, if you upload it on a Wednesday, you will have 3 more days to figure out that what you did is incorrect and solve that issue. But if you're going to be uploading at 8 a.m. in the morning, then we're going to have problems. Oh, and again, we have absolute power over Eve. I can tell you when you logged in, when you changed your password, when you did this, when you did that. Every button click you do on Eve is documented. Okay. So if are there any questions, ladies and gentlemen? This is where we ended with the other class as well. Yeah. So the assistance lab is in E-Ring 211. It's currently empty right now. We're still trying to get, so as soon as if we go back onto Eve, if you do assistance roster, come on, press the button. Oh, not the wrong thing. Assistance roster, at the moment, nothing is available. That means there's no one in the assistance lab, nothing. But this is week 1 as well. You guys have no business having issues at this point in time anyway. So by Monday, this should be populated. If there is someone in the lab for a certain subject, then you can go and see them. We will have 2 labs, a virtual lab and a physical lab. So you can ask questions to the people that are online, or if you want to sit down and have a face-to-face conversation with someone, there should be someone in there as well. But not all the time. It will come down to the times that they have on the timetable here. No, that lab is specifically for help. Yeah, it's like 5 computers, 2 people in there. It's like, this is the issue I'm having, please assist. And also, please assist does not mean please write my code. They will just try and make you understand what issues you've made. They will not write code for you. We do not allow them to write code for you. They just steer you in the right direction. Okay, if there's nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, that is today's class. It's going to end it a bit early because there's something else I need to do. But if you do have any questions, please do ask in the Discord channel. So are we giving practical assignments each week before the due date? Yes. So every single week you'll be given a practical that's due on the next week.